Something stinks, but I'm not just talking about the Frogdog. I'm talking about you, and me, and this very world around us. The smell has risen out of the swamps and lingers eternally in the air. It has burned into our nostrils and follows us wherever we go. I know why you're here. I know what you're expecting, but unfortunately, I cannot teach you of the Frogdog, not without first teaching you about its habitat. For in the cesspons where it dwells lies the true horror and risk, lies the true strength and power. I have come to see the Frogdog itself as a beacon of possibility, as a champion of mutation, and approach it with no malice or disgust. But let me not get ahead of myself. Take a seat and let me talk to you about the swamps. Around the cesspons, life is everywhere. It is thriving. It paints the picture of an oasis compared to the dark stone-faced tundras that surround it. But looks can be deceiving, as this environment is incredibly hostile and unforgiving to outsiders. As you step into this realm for the first time, you may not realize the danger, but although the waters sit shallow upon the shore, elsewhere they extend unfathomably deep and teem with plants, fungi, and other unnameable entities. A simple, misplaced step can spell death as you are pulled into the deep recesses of the pond. Even a slip in the shallows, you can flood your lungs and stomach with bacteria-infested waters, allowing infection to rush through your body. The gaseous waters may even begin to react and fill you with violent pressures. If that pressure is not relieved, you may burst at the stomach, leaving nothing but a stinking corpse. Walking the shores to avoid wading into treacherous waters may seem smart, but it is also slow and heavy, and your clumsy footfall is likely to stimulate a myriad of plants, releasing toxic spores into the air. React as fast as you can, but by the time the overwhelming stench of the spores reaches your nose, it means the spores have already made their way inside of you, and are already clinging to your airways. More than one survivor has scrambled back from their hunt, from that waterlogged harmony, drenched in fever sweat and coughing mercilessly. I mentioned that the Frogdog is a champion of mutation, and that's because the invading spores of the cesspond act like mutagens, forcibly changing the physical anatomy of the infected. For us survivors, it starts with red gashes opening on the neck, and follows with the swelling of the jaw. Survivors suffering in an unbearable pain as their throats tear with unceasing coughs. Most of us will outlive the violent first stages, but nearly all are left physically scarred one way or another by the ordeal. Some have had their eyes blown out from the pressure of the coughing. Others' bodies fight back by petrifying just to prevent the infection spread. A strange bodily response, as if somehow the infection could not move through stone. This is most commonly seen on the nose, as it petrifies over and over, and the two bodies attempt to repel and fight each other. Ultimately, you may come out the other side without a nose, but at least you'll live. A lucky few who survive and recover remember the power and energy behind their cough and the change that happened inside of them. They retain the ability to summon its fury when necessary, reveling in the glory of their transformation. Somewhat sadistically, for us onlookers, this process has become a rite of passage and great enjoyment. It teaches us acceptance of an ever-changing world. Despite looking up at this tremendous inverted mountain with great aspirations, we know we've been shaped here below. Our philosophy builds from our beginnings around the sunken peak. We have learned that things are not static, they are not stuck as they are. Without this insight, we may have considered a lost limb some sign of reduction, from what we thought one must always be to something less, something inferior. But growing alongside the Frogdog and its cesspond, we have learned that things are not immutable, in a sense that there is no better or worse. Instead, there is a constant flux, and nature decides what survives. Like the swamp, we do what we must, but we see no obstacles, no enemies, only things which can become extensions of ourselves. Whether that's by modifying our physical existence or by extending ourselves with items or clothing. We live by the rule of the swamp, and we have elected our mere Navi to read and see the signs, interpret the omens, and predict what may come, and when change may work in our favour. But before I continue on, I need you to remember that I'm not telling you all of this just to hear the sound of my own voice. I'm telling you this because the cesspons and swamps have such significant power to change and to mutate, and you see the effects of that on the survivors who go out to hunt the Frogdog. I want you to take that knowledge and keep it in mind that the Frogdog lives its entire life within the realm of the swamp. But for now, remember, all I tell you is of people's experiences as transient visitors of the swamp. With that in mind, listen to how we use the cesspons to our advantage as we celebrate during the Metamorphosis festival. In the mind of the mere Navi, when certain omens align just right, they can see deep into the swamps, to a cesspond abandoned and no longer inhabited by a Frogdog, where the powers to change are at their strongest. Travelling in, our oldest, most frail and fragile of people go willingly, and alongside them a few younger individuals, brave enough to take the risk in the hopes of glory and power. Us old-timers, we long for youth, for restored limbs and repaired bones. We live on the verge of death, and so the risk is great, but would only be accelerating the inevitable. For the youth that accompany us, the risk is far greater. They have so much more to lose, yet embracing that change is the greatest acceptance of the world they inhabit. Something that lives with me is the time a young soul's entire skin turned into a shell of weeping pustules. They endured much and suffered great pain and dealt with the psychological trauma of a body so significantly altered. But now they live on, stronger for it. They became part of the changing, part of the mutations, bringing all things more harmoniously together. They became a champion of our people.